I'm Ashlyn.
And I'm Zach.
And this is Sierra, and we're traveling A to Z.
This week we're in Missoula, Montana.
Join us as we take you to some interesting places to visit within an hour drive of Missoula, Montana. Our first stop is to Travelers Rest State Park.
So they have a few trails on this state park. They also have a visitor center with information. It is not open on Mondays or Tuesdays. We're gonna check out the little loop that you could do, and that is open 9 to 5 every day.
Travelers Rest is a historic campsite used by Lewis and Clark expedition. In 2002, archaeologists uncovered physical evidence of the Lewis and Clark expedition at the campsite, including a trench, fire hearse, and lead, which was likely used in firearm manufacture or repair. This makes Travelers Rest the only campsite along the Lewis and Clark Trail verified with such physical evidence. It has been designated a Natural Historic Landmark since 1960 and is on the National Registry of Historic Places.
Travelers Rest Overlook. We're currently at Traveler Rest Overlook, and this is a state park about 8 miles outside of Missoula. This is where Lewis and Clark camped in September 9th through 11th in 1805, and then again in 1806 when they were coming back through on their expedition. How neat is this? And this is where they camped, like right here. This state park's a fun little state park. They have multiple little flat trails that you could go on, and they're nicely groomed. There's a lot of locals walking their dogs and stuff. Really nice. The trails are marked really well, so you're not gonna get lost, which is great.
We're now going to check out the Travelers Rest Visitor Center. We're currently at the Travelers Rest Visitor Center, and in the Visitor Center you have information about Lewis and Clark expedition and where they camped at Travelers Rest, and you also have a lot of artifacts and information about the indigenous people who lived on this land. In this museum, you could see beadwork, musical instruments, traditional crafts from the tribes, also skulls, pelts, and local animals such as beavers and birds on display. There's also a Trekker's Kids Corner, which is great for young kids, and Sierra loved it. It has hands-on replicas, matching games, and gear that the kids can play with.
Going to the Bison Range.
When you first arrive to the Bison Range, you need to stop by the Visitor Center, which is located right near the entrance, to pay for entrance into the park. This is the main hub for visitors. It gives you an orientation. You can learn about the natural and cultural history and see exhibits about bison and the area. We're currently at the Visitor Center right here. There's 2 different drives you could do. You have the Red Sleep Mountain Drive, which is only open during the summer, and then you have the Prairie Drive, which is open all year round. The Prairie Drive is 7 miles out, 7 miles back. It is $20 per vehicle to go. The Bison Range is a wildlife conservation area in western Montana on the Flathead Indian Reservation. It's about 18,766 acres in size. It is home to roughly 350 bison. The area was originally established in 1908 as the National Bison Range to preserve American bison. In 2020, through public law, control was restored to the Confederate Salish and Kootenai tribes.
We're currently doing the Prairie Drive, which is a 7-mile drive in search of bison. We saw our first bison pretty close to the road. We're gonna see if we can find any more. Apparently there's not a lot out because it's just rainy and cold today, but hopefully our luck will continue and we'll see more. Let's go find more bison.
The range includes a mixture of native prairie grasses, forests, wetlands, and streams.
We saw a bison. It was a big bison too.
Besides bison, you could also see elk, mule deer, white-tailed deer, pronghorns, black bears, coyotes, ground squirrels, and occasional predators like mountain lions.
We just finished the little prairie road to see the bison, and we saw 2 on the road really close to us. And then we saw probably about 5 other ones that were high up in the mountains. Really neat, lots of deer. We saw a couple elk. Very cool little drive. I definitely recommend coming here if you're visiting the Missoula area because it's only like an hour drive and it's really pretty, peaceful, and really cool animals to see. Our next stop is to the Garden of 1,000 Buddhas. This is about a 45-minute drive outside the city of Missoula in the city of Arlee. Once we get into the area where all the Buddhas are, you're supposed to walk clockwise around because it's a Buddha tradition.
The Garden of 1,000 Buddhas is a Buddhist monument, pilgrimage, and retreat center in western Montana. It is known for its beauty, symbolism, and peaceful setting. It is meant to be a place for reflection, meditation, and to inspire qualities like wisdom, compassion, and peace.
This is really neat. As you walk around, they have all these stupas surrounding the whole outside. There's 1,000 stupas, and then inside there's 1,000 Buddhas. Very cool. And then there's gardens all the way around this area. Right now it's winter, so there's not a lot of things in bloom or anything in bloom, but it would be so neat to see this during the spring and summer.
The layout is in the shape of a Dharma wheel, an 8-spoked wheel symbolizing the Noble Eightfold Path in Buddhism. Around the center are 1,000 hand-cast Buddha statues arranged along the 8 spokes, 125 per spoke. In the center is a large statue also known as the Great Mother. The outer rim is lined with 1,000 stupas, each enshrining an image of the female deity Tara, symbolizing enlightened mind. The landscape and gardens include native trees and flowers. There's a pond, benches, prayer wheels, and path designed for mindful walking. We walked up the hill to the Sun and Moon Garden and the Prayer Flag Mound.
Top. Look at all the prayer flags. We made it to the top where the teepee is. All these are prayer flags, so you could buy a flag and then they'll put them up for you, so you could buy them for loved ones, lost ones, for prayers. It's pretty neat. We're currently in Philipsburg, Montana, which is about an hour outside of Missoula. It was a town that was established in 1866 for mining, and they mined silver here. Now it's just kind of a cute little town you could wander through that has shops. They have the Sweet Palace, the Sapphire Gallery where you can mine for sapphires, and a couple restaurants. So we're going to go to the Sweet Palace. They specialize in fudge and taffy and chocolate. They make those homemade, but they also have all the old-fashioned candies that you could buy by the pound. It's supposed to be the top-ranked candy store around. We're gonna go check it out. It's a must-do when you're in Philipsburg.
As you walk into the store, it's housed in a Victorian building and it has an old-world charm. The antique decor is welcoming and has a great ambiance. In the shop, there's over 1,000 candy varieties and 72 flavors of saltwater taffy. The shop features an in-house kitchen with copper cauldrons where visitors can watch the making of marshmallows, caramels, and toffees.
So they make the taffies and the fudge here. You pay by the pound the candy. It's supposed to be one of the best candy shops in Montana.
Downtown Philipsburg is a small historic mining town in southwest Montana. Many of its original and Victoria-era buildings have been preserved or restored. The downtown is very walkable with a collection of shops, restaurants, galleries, and historic sites.
So when you're in Philipsburg, something you could do is mine for sapphires. We got the crazy bag. It's $20 for this big bag. I don't know how big of a bag is, but it's probably about, I feel like 5 pounds or something. And it's supposed to have stuff loaded for kids and easier to find for kids. Back and forth, back and forth.
There you go.
Okay, are we ready? Should we? This is a sieve, so you shake the rocks. And we take it, and then we, oops, flip. Ooh, look at that one.
Ooh.
Should we put that one in your bag?
Yeah.
Here, put this one in. Okay, let's find something else that's really good. So we got a whole bag full.
So with the $20 bag, we were able to do 3 different washes, and we found lots of different fun odd objects, and we got 3 shark teeth, different gems, different rocks. So really fun activity. It probably took us about half an hour, and Sierra really liked it. After mining for gems, we were hungry and thirsty. This place specializes in soda shop type of drinks, so like milkshakes and Italian sodas and floats. So I got a huckleberry float. It's pretty tasty. We're currently at the Grant-Kohrs Ranch National Historic Site, which is outside of Deer Lodge, Montana. So at the visitor center, they're supposed to have tours. Unfortunately, the visitor center is closed. It's supposed to be open 9 to 4:30 during kind of the winter time. There is 16 buildings you could go explore on this property. Apparently there's like 88 original buildings on this 1,600 acres, but there's 16 of the buildings you could actually explore. If you want to go in the main house, you have to get a tour to go in there. Like I said, unfortunately, the visitor center is closed. So we're just gonna kind of walk around the property and take a look. So on this property, there's 10 miles of ranch roads and trails. This park is ran by the National Park Service. It is a working cattle ranch. And this is here because this was one of the routes where the cows were brought. This ranch is an example of an open range cattle era, a period when ranchers grazed cattle over vast, largely unfenced land and drove herds long distances. It helps tell how ranchers shaped settlements, economy, land use, and culture in the American West. This historic site preserves not just buildings, but a large amount of documentary artifacts and business records which give insight into daily life, labor, trade, and land management. When you're on a tour, they teach you how to rope, and they have these little fake cows around so you could try to rope them. And then they also have a fire, and they'll make homemade coffee on the fire, which should be really cool. But there's no tour going on right now. So right now we're doing the self-guided tour, and they have different informational signs all over, and they tell you kind of what the building was and how it was used. So this was a neat little national monument. I definitely recommend checking it out. It's about an hour from Missoula. It's outside of Deer Lodge, and it's cool. It took us about an hour. It's about a 0.75 mile little loop trail, very well maintained, and it actually surprised me. I was surprised at how well preserved the buildings were. Check it out if you're in the Missoula area. We're gonna head to the Montana State Prison, which is the first state prison in Montana. So we're currently in Deer Lodge, and we are going and exploring and touring the old Montana State Prison. This was the first prison established in Montana. It is now just, it got destroyed by the earthquake part of the building, so it's not actually used as a prison, but you could tour it and learn about the history. The prison is listed on the National Registry of Historic Places since 1976. The old prison offers a window into how penal systems worked in the late 19th and early mid-20th centuries in Montana, including issues with labor, executions, riots, and reform. It is historically important for the state, being the primary penitentiary facility over the territorial period and into statehood. It is also of archaeological interest because its fortress-like walls, cell block design, and evolution of prison design over time. The oldest existing structure is the stone wall that surrounds the prison. It's 24 feet high and is buried about 4 feet underground, preventing tunneling. The prison opened in 1871 as the Montana Territorial Prison. Montana became a state in November of 1889. At that point, the prison became the state penitentiary. Over time, the facility expanded, and in 1893, convicted labor built the stone wall around the prison. There are major buildings added later, including a large red brick cell block in 1912 and an administrative and supportive buildings in the later years. The prison had recurrent problems with overcrowding and funding shortages. Because of deteriorating conditions and ongoing problems, a new prison facility was built 3.5 miles west of town. The old prison was closed in 1979.
These were the fancy cell houses. They had running water and ventilation.
And one person per cell until it became overcrowded, and then was 2. Inside the prison, they also have a law and enforcement memorial. This is the Montana Law and Enforcement Memorial, and you could see memorabilia and people's pictures from 1863 who died in the line of duty.
So this prison is kind of nice. They give you a booklet that tells you the number and then talks about the different areas. They also have the same thing written on the signs. You could also get a QR code, and then they're supposed to talk to you, but for some reason it wasn't working on my phone. So pretty neat way to get a tour. I think they also offer tours if you have a bigger group that goes through the prison.
We're now going to the Automobile Museum that's supposed to have around 200 vehicles in here. This is included in the ticket that you buy for the prison. There's also a couple museums across the street. Unfortunately, they're closed until the middle of May, so we can't go to them. But they give you, if you keep your receipt, you could use the receipt to get into all the museums again anytime within the year. So that's kind of neat if you lived in this area. One thing to note, if you're a AAA member, you get a discount when you come in on your ticket. In this museum, they have vehicles from 1890s all the way up into 1980s, so a very wide range of vehicles to look at. This museum has a lot of different cars in it. You could see old Fords, Chevrolets, Mustangs, muscle cars from the late 60s and early 70s, an electric car from 1913, and a lot of other unique vehicles such as classic fire trucks, logging trucks, scooters, and much more.
So this is pretty cool. The prison is open all year round, and so is the Automobile Museum. The rest of the museums are open during the summer, so much to see. You can spend like a whole day looking at all these museums. The prison was pretty cool, the Old State Montana Museum, so I definitely recommend checking it out if you're in the area. It's about an hour drive from Missoula only, and it's in Deer Lodge. To Lolo Pass Visitor Center, which is about an hour away from Missoula, and it's on the border of Idaho and Montana. They have a little pass and a visitor center and lots of snow, and it's 70 degrees out. Crazy.
Lolo Pass Visitor Center was built in 2002, and it has exhibits and interpretive displays and 24-hour restrooms. Lolo Pass was placed on the National Registry of Historic Places because of the ancient travel routes that went through this area. The displays cover the journey of Lewis and Clark across the Bitterroot Mountains, the Nez Perce flight, natural history, local ecology, and regional geography. This site was important because on the western leg of the Lewis and Clark expedition, their party traversed this rugged terrain over Lolo Pass. This portion is widely considered one of the most difficult stretches of their journey. This site is also connected to the Nez Perce National Historic Trail, reflecting the route taken by the band of Nez Perce during the 1877 flight from U.S. Army forces. In the winter, the center acts as a trailhead and warming hut for cross-country skiers, snowshoers, and snowmobilers. You could also rent snowshoes here. There's also a little tiny kids section with some activities.
This This is Lolo Hot Springs. It's about 45 minutes from Missoula. Great place to go soak and enjoy the day.
Lolo Hot Springs is a natural hot springs resort. The resort offers 2 natural hot springs pools. The indoor pool is hotter, around 102 to 106 degrees Fahrenheit, which is for soaking, and an outdoor pool that is a larger mineral swimming pool used for recreation. Unfortunately, it was closed. I hope you enjoyed exploring some of the top things to do within an hour drive of Missoula, Montana. Please subscribe below to follow more of our adventures.